is to welcome Mr. Philip V. Varughese for the technical session. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of the Department of Commerce, Davangere University, Davangere.
Thank you so much.
Welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, all.
So, over to you, sir.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Good morning, one and all who joined the call today. Thank you for taking time out again today morning to join the session. Yesterday, we had a very good session. Your questions that shows that your keen interest and support on these areas and the topics. Thank you so much for that. I encourage all of you to really share your thoughts, questions, suggestions, and feedback as well. Right. So yesterday we have seen that an introduction to artificial intelligence, why artificial intelligence and analytics, how the industries are adopting the analytics and AI in a big scale, what kind of opportunities and challenges out there. We have seen seen the different aspects of analytics and artificial intelligence right from its evolution. Today we are going to continue the same, where we will slightly look at deeper aspects of this analytics and artificial intelligence. Not very technical, but semi-technical, with a lot of examples, just like the way we have seen yesterday. My screen, if someone can confirm that you're able to see, that would be great, and we can start.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So yesterday we have seen that
the recording has stopped.
Yesterday we have seen that analytics has four major areas: descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. So descriptive analytics is very common. We all use
This meeting is being recorded.
So descriptive analytics we use on a daily basis. Being a teacher, being a lecturer, we use this on a daily basis. For example, the attendance of the students, or the marks of the students, or the number of students in a college, right, year on year. All those things gives us the descriptive analysis of our students, right? The performance of the students, the attendance of the students, the fees collection, all the things, right? Hello, am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So that is what is descriptive analytics. Now, if you need to understand the future aspects of the data, for example, when we look at the corona and the COVID-19 situation, how many people are getting affected on a daily basis? How many people are getting discharged? How many people are dying? How many people are testing positive? How many people needs advanced medical care? How many people got vaccination? Now, if you look at all those things, data, that will be descriptive analytics. Now, when we look at, if you look at the trend of the data, or the last 1 month, the number of cases are increasing, then you need to know why it is increasing, right? Okay, is it because of so many people traveling between different regions, or is it because of the containment zones are not properly managed, or is it because of the vaccination is not given properly? So I request not to interrupt the screen. I think somebody's playing with the screen. Can you undo that, please?
Dear participants, please don't use the screen. It disturbs the speaker.
Okay, thank
you.
you.
Matured enough to understand. So, sorry, sir, please continue.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So the diagnostic analytics is nothing but why a particular situation is happening, right? For example, the number of cases are increasing, or number of deaths are increasing. Why? So the root cause analysis of that particular aspect is called diagnosis analytics. Prescriptive analytics is to understand what is happening right now. Why my sales are increasing? Why my sales are decreasing? What's happening with my sales across regions, right? So if you need to understand the current situation, lay of the land, we call it as descriptive analytics, and the root cause behind it is called diagnostic analytics. Now, if somebody wants to understand, okay, given the situation ABC, what will happen in the future? Will my sales increase or decrease? Will my profit increase or decrease? Will the number of cases, corona cases or COVID-19 cases are going to increase or decrease? What is likely to happen? That is called predictive analytics. And that is where we will use a lot of statistical modeling, predictive analytics, etc. to predict the things. Now, imagine if the number of COVID cases are going to be increasing, what should I do? How do I really contain that situation? Or if my profit is decreasing, what should I do to increase my profit in my business? So that is called prescriptive analytics, a kind of an advisory. What should I do, right? That is called prescriptive analytics. So these are the major 4 analytics, data analytics types out there. Now, the first 2 are very simple. Descriptive and diagnostics are very simple. Complexity is very less, but the value is less. But if you look at the latter 2, the predictive and prescriptive, that is where the value is more, and it is slightly complex as well, because that is where you will get advisory that will help you to predict as well, right? Now, companies are using all these 4 types of analytics very, very heavily, depending upon the role, depending upon the function, depending upon the level. People are using these kind of analytics in a very, very deep way. So we are going to see that examples. Yesterday we have seen a lot of examples towards that, right? Now, when we look at analytics, there are different types of data types to be handled and managed. Now, you know that descriptive analytics is very, very straightforward. It is very easy. The descriptive analytics. Yes. For example, the students' marks. Now, if you wanted to take all the students' marks, it is very simple. You have a serial number, then you have the list of students, then you have their class, then you have their total marks. Very, very simple. The data is very, very simple, structured. We call it as structured data. Now, sometimes if you need to combine the marks of the students with their assignments, then it will become semi-structured. You can have a description about their assignment, what they have done, and then they have the marks, right? So then some data is structured, some data is not structured. That is called semi-structured data. Now, sometimes the data can be completely unstructured. For example, their the exam paper, what they write. The data inside their answer sheet is completely unstructured. Mostly it will be descriptive and there is no structure to the data. So these are the 4 types of data out there: structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. So unstructured data is video, images, newspaper data, all those things are unstructured data example, where semi-structured data could be web log, device data, sensor data could be semi-structured. Structured data like your cricket score, for example, or mark sheet, for example, sales data, for example. So these are all very, very structured data. Now, there are different types. The volume of the data can be differed from time to time and scenario to scenario, that we will see soon. Now, long time back, 20-25 years back, there was mostly structured data. The unstructured data was also there, but companies have to leverage only structured data mostly. The sales data, finance data, supply chain data, market data, or procurement data, and so on. So to manage structured data in 1997 or 2000 time, that is where technologies like Cognos came into picture. That is online analytical processing. You have a table, you have a data structure. That's where OLAP started coming into picture. Now, by 2000, so many different software started coming into picture. That is where companies have to manage multiple data systems, multiple software, and that is where you need to have business intelligence or data warehouse. It was not easy to manage data from one single source, and that is where multiple data sources started coming in, and that is where business intelligence started coming. Now, in the business intelligence, again, mostly people were doing descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics. But by 2010, people realized that with the help of technology and statistical and mathematical modeling, you can do a lot of predictive analytics. And that is where SAS kind of systems started coming in, statistical and mathematical analytics using, for predictive analytics. After 2010, you can see that a huge volume of data started exploding. So data started increasing like anything, and that is where systems like Hadoop started coming into the big data ecosystem. We will see the big data ecosystem very soon. Now, you heard about big data, right? Big data is what? Big data is nothing but a large amount of data that cannot be processed by a traditional software or traditional computer. That's it. That's the definition of big data. Very large volume of data, which cannot be stored, captured, processed, visualized, analyzed by a traditional system or a traditional database is called big data. So big data has very different characteristics actually. When we call it as big data, the big data has a number of characteristics. The volume itself is so huge. That's one of the key parameters of the big data, big volume, right? A terabyte of data. The next one is actually the big data comes in a very, very high speed velocity. There are multiple V's that we can use for defining a big data. Volume is the first one. Velocity is the second. Velocity is high speed. The third one is variety, different data, structured data, unstructured data, media data, log data, social media data, and so on. Data. Then veracity of data. Veracity means the accuracy of the data, the different accuracy aspects of the data. How do we trust the data that is coming from diverse sources in a very huge volume at a very high space? That is called veracity. Now, the last one is actually value. The most important aspects of the big data is value. What kind of value we can generate out of this big data is the last V for the characteristics of a big data. So we need to always look at, when we talk about big data, we need to look at the volume, the velocity, the variety, veracity, and value. So these are the 5 characteristics of a big data. Now, big data is not just about the size of the large volume of data. Now today, you know that everybody has a large volume of data. We may have large collection of movies, songs, videos, photographs, our research papers, contents, mark sheets. We may have huge volume of data, but it is not about the large volume of data. It is all important it is all about the value that is within the data. That is what the most important thing. So we always look at what kind of value we can generate out of this, right? We discussed yesterday about knowledge engineering or information extraction, insight generation, right? That is the most important piece. That will help you to derive value and help your organization to grow better, right? Once the big data is there, definitely large volume of data is there for performing artificial intelligence models. And that is where we have yesterday seen that a number of companies started using AI solution because the large volume of data is there. Problem statements are defined so that you can apply artificial intelligence across different use cases. There are different types of AIs are there. Interactive AI, functional AI, analytical AI, visual AI, textual AI, and so on. So we have seen different examples yesterday, but interactive AI, we discussed about chatbots. Chatbots are interactive AI, or Amazon Alexa, for example, the smart personal assistant, right? Interactive AI. Or if you use Google voice to text or text to voice, text AI. If you look at cognitive devices like smart TV or smart road, smart car yesterday vision, functional AI, social media analytics and risk analytics, that is analytical AI will come into picture. Facial recognition in the Amazon showroom yesterday we have seen is called visual AI, computer vision and augmented reality. You will see different types of AI coming into the picture. So one side you have the data growing, and then you have big data. And once you have the large volume of data, then you can apply a lot of advanced analytical and AI capabilities to the large volume of data, which can create different use cases, right? So what is artificial intelligence? So how do we really define artificial intelligence? It's very simple actually. Before we define artificial intelligence, we need to define the general normal intelligence. So intelligence is the ability to acquire, understand, and apply knowledge. That's a fundamental definition of intelligence. Intelligence is the ability to acquire knowledge, understand knowledge, and apply the knowledge. And with that knowledge, intelligence is the ability to adapt to the new situation. So whatever the situation that is coming up, based on the knowledge that we acquired, we understood, we should be able to apply, adapt to the new situation. And also, intelligence is the ability to use our capability to learn and solve problems. Okay, intelligence is the ability to learn and solve problems. Now, this is what the definition of intelligence. Now, this is a general normal intelligence. Now, when this intelligence is this capability or this ability is acquired by a computer or a system, and that is where we call it as artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the intelligence exhibited by machines. The science and engineering to make intelligent machines called AI. That's why John McCarthy, the father of AI, right? So that's where, we need to understand the intelligence is nothing but the intelligence exhibited by the computers and machines, where the computers and machines will be able to acquire the knowledge, understand the knowledge, apply the knowledge, and the systems will be able to adapt to the new situation. It will be able to learn from the situation and solve complex problems. Correct? So artificial intelligence is the intelligence exhibited by machine. That is what the simplest definition. Okay, so I'm not going to read through the definitions, you know this, but that is what artificial intelligence. Now, the artificial intelligence has five aspects to this. First of all, for anybody, whether a human being or an artificial machine or a computer, you have to discover the things. That means understand the things. Now, once we discover the things, then we should be able to predict what will happen in the future. Now, once that prediction is there, then we need to justify what will be the outcome of that prediction. And once we justify that prediction, then we need to act. Once we act, then obviously we will have results, right? Sometimes the results will be good or bad. Sometimes the results will be right or wrong. Then based on the outcome, that we need to learn from that. And again, it will
The
go back.
recording has stopped.
Yeah, then again, it will go back to the discover phase, predict, justify, act. This is a cycle actually. So similarly, for a truly intelligent machine, this is how it will happen. The artificial intelligence machines will discover things, predict things, justify its prediction. That means reasoning, right? And then act on
This meeting is being recorded.
And then based on the activities and outcomes, it will learn from its own actions and outcomes. Then again, it will go back to the discover and predict it. So that's how the cycle will continue. Now, in the whole process, we have seen only artificial intelligence, but how the system will discover, how the system will learn, and that the learning process is called machine learning. So we saw that intelligence is the ability to acquire knowledge, understand knowledge, and apply knowledge. So that acquisition of knowledge, right? The ability to understand the data, understand the scenario, the ability to learn, the ability to discover new information from data, right? That is called machine learning. The ability of a system to take basic knowledge from the system or from the data is called machine learning. The ability of a machine to learn things by itself is called machine learning. As simple as that. So for that machine learning, obviously there are models, methodologies, and processes out there. So we can, if you look at the definition, a process or a set of rules that will be followed by a machine to learn new things or acquire the new knowledge is called machine learning. Now, Arthur Samuel has a further more interesting definition: the field of study that gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. So that is what is called machine learning. Machine learns by itself, right? Now, there are different types of learning: supervised learning, sorry, unsupervised learning, right? So there are multiple different types of learnings out there. Supervised learning is nothing but just like the way we teach our students in classroom, right? Somebody is there to supervise, somebody is there to guide, somebody is there to correct. Unsupervised learning is actually whatever the students are studying outside their syllabus, studying through friends, studying through the society, studying through the media, right? Whatever it is not out there in the syllabus, whatever there is, whatever the students is learned through without a teacher is called unsupervised learning. I'm just giving two, I'm taking a different example here. So similarly for systems, if you are directing the system with a certain set of algorithms or directions or rules, that's called supervised learning. Now, the outcome is known in the supervised learning. We know what exactly going to happen, right? Is going to be raining or not raining, or is it going to be head or tail? But in the unsupervised learning, we don't know what exactly the outcome. The system will automatically figure it out. So learn and then comprehend and act and then again learn it. So that's where the unsupervised learning will come, where the outcome is absolutely not known. Now, these kind of algorithms can be used in various aspects, right? In the deep learning, in the predictive analytics, clustering, classifications, natural language processing, image recognition, computer vision, all these areas, these kind of algorithms will be used. And then AI is a combination of all these different aspects, different building blocks, but not necessary that everything has to come together. In some use cases, many of the building blocks will come together. Some use cases, only a few of them will come together to provide a solution. For me personally, what I think is actually artificial intelligence can be used in two areas. One, either to innovate a new solution or a new aspect to provide an innovation solution, or to solve a complex problem. So these are the two areas where today people are using artificial intelligence in a very, very big way. As I mentioned, there are multiple types of learnings out there: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Supervised learnings today are very, very commonly used across organizations, whether it is for forecasting or predictions, or customer predictions, analysis, and so on. You heard about classification, regression algorithms, etc., are all examples for supervised learning. In the unsupervised learning, that is where we don't know the outcome of the prediction, and that is where target marketing, customer segmentation. For example, in a bank, if there are 1 crore people, 1 crore customer, do we know how many people are going to be the most high value customer or HNI customers? We don't know. So that is where we will use unsupervised learning to segregate and cluster the high HNI, high net worth individual customers, for proactive sales and support or targeted marketing, etc. Reinforcement learning, sometimes, as you know, that if you take the example of a student, sometimes the students will not learn neither by direct teaching or even indirect learning. They will not learn. Sometimes we have to go to ensure that the student is learning. Similarly, for the systems also, we need to have sometimes a reinforcement. That's called reinforcement learning, right? So we will see the examples in the coming. But how industry is using all these things, that's what the most important, right? So where industry is using all these analytics, and we are going to see some examples through a few industries right now. But before I get into this, any questions so far?
Sir?
Yeah, any questions so far? Any questions or thoughts? Or
Sir, we hear. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We hear three words differently. Means big data, machine learning, and AI. What is the similarity and difference between them?
Okay, so very interesting question. So big data. Let me explain the big data. So big data is nothing but large volume of data. When the data comes very, very large, it is called big data. Is that clear? Now, I can give you with an example. Now, imagine the COVID situation. Globally, there are hundreds of millions of people are affected with COVID. Now, if you take everyone's data and put it into a system, saying that, okay, these are the 200 crore people affected with COVID, and this is their name, phone number, email ID, when they are affected with the COVID, which region, which are their address, their phone number, their background, that becomes huge information, right? 200 crore transactions. That is a huge volume of data, right? That is called big data. Or if you look at India, we have about 135 crore people. Now imagine every person makes 10 calls in a day. So that means we have 1,300 crores call records in a day. 10 days, 15,000 crore call records, right? For a telecom company, that is a huge volume of data. So that is called big data. Now, artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, yesterday we have seen a lot of examples about how industry is adopting artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is nothing but the intelligence exhibited by machine. That means whenever we are now, yesterday I showed you a simple example. When you upload a photograph to Facebook, it will automatically tag your photograph, correct? If you or any of your friends are there, that is artificial intelligence behind the system. So that is an AI. On the other side, if you are using your smartphone to unlock your, if you are using your thumb impression or your facial recognition for unlocking your phone, that is artificial intelligence. There is an intelligence built into the system. There is an intelligent software. That's called artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence won't simply come there. So the machine has to learn, like the way humans are having the intelligence, machines also should be learning. So that whole process of learning by the machine is called machine learning. So machine learning, how do we learn? We learn many things through our schooling, college, etc. Right? And many things will be taught to us by our society, by our friends, by our family members. So there are different ways we are learning as a human being. Similarly, computers also will learn. We teach the computer, and computers sometimes learn by themselves. So that is called supervised learning and unsupervised learning in the computer. How the computer will understand that whether the photograph of a particular person is belonging to a particular person or not, how they will learn when there are different hundreds of photographs is coming up. So that is where the machine has to learn. That whole learning process is called machine learning. When it is coming to that actual identification or detection or tagging, that is where the intelligence will come. So that intelligence is called artificial intelligence. The learning process is called machine learning. When the data is so huge, it is called big data. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions so far?
Sir, can you give one example of supervised and unsupervised learning?
Yeah, definitely. So let me go back here. So this is a screen with a lot of examples actually. Supervised learning. So now India is having a test match right now, right? The World Test Series is happening now. Whether India will win or not based on the past scores, past results. This is a supervised learning. It can predict. So typically the prediction with the normal situations is called supervised learning, whether it is going to be raining today or not. That's supervised learning. Whether I am going to pass this exam or not, right? So now when it is coming to unsupervised learning, a larger data volume, larger scenarios are there, but you don't know even the prediction, whether you can be, it is very difficult to predict. Example, now imagine that you are running a big KFC, KFC showrooms now, or supermarkets. Now you wanted to open a new supermarket in a new place, but how do you choose which location to start the supermarket? Now you need to know whether there enough population is there, enough less competition is there, whether the economic conditions of the people are going to be, are good so that they will come and buy from your shops. You don't know any of these things. Now what will you do? You have a huge random volume of data. Then what will you do is actually you apply unsupervised learning to identify the best suitable location, whether to be opening in Delhi or Bombay or Kanyakumari or Cochin. That will help you to do the I help you to identify the location where you can open your new supermarket. That is unsupervised learning. Is it clear?
Yeah, so from general example point of view, it is clear, but I want to understand how the machine learns supervised in a supervised way and unsupervised way.
Oh, okay. So that I am coming to the next slide. So that is where we use a lot of algorithms, right? I am sure you might have heard about clustering algorithm, k-neighborhood algorithm, decision tree algorithm, support vector machine algorithm. Have you heard about all these algorithms?
No, sir. Actually, I don't have technical background. I'm from class 11. I am a commerce student only, sir.
Oh, okay,
so,
okay.
As
Fine.
far as possible, you just generalize, then we will make a detailed study. Yeah.
Understand. So there are so many different algorithms out there that you will use these kind of algorithms in the models, and then that algorithm will help you to really, help the computer in the background to really learn and then build the intelligence.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So there are tools like
Hello.
R and Python. Yeah, there are tools like R and Python where you will be able to apply these algorithms on large volume of data, where that machine will automatically will be able to extract this intelligence based on the algorithms that we apply. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Sir, I
Hello,
have a doubt.
Varughese,
That
sir.
did machine
Good
extract the
morning.
data from internet, or the companies will provide some data to the machine by purchasing from other sources?
Yeah, so I'm exactly coming to that. How do we do this analytics, right? So I'm coming to that section with an architecture. It is all about what use case that you are looking at. If you wanted to look at a competitive analysis, then you need data from external, internal, social media, and so on. But if you wanted to understand your own customer behavior, then you need to have the data from your own, mostly from your sales and customer interactions. So both the cases, you will use data, some partially from external, partially from internal, right? That's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, one more question from Priyanka.
Yes, tell me, ma'am.
Sir, which field of commerce has used scope for the for the research in artificial intelligence?
I have a specific section for commerce coming up down the line. So in the accounts and finance, you know that what are the key areas in accounts receivable? I mean, accounts and finance. We have accounts receivable, accounts payable, cash receivable, cash payable, reconciliation area, budgeting and planning, forecasting. All these areas today, analytics and AI is being used. Now imagine that you are having 2,000 vendors where you need to make the payment. Now, if you don't make the payment at the right time, there will be contract clauses saying that you have to pay the penalty or fine. Now, if you have to, I mean, if you missed a payment, then if there are so much of penalty to be paid, then it is a loss for you. Then how do you really predict who has to be prioritized, how it has to be paid, etc.? You need to understand that. That is where analytics can be used. On the other side, imagine that you have 2 crore customers. These customers have to pay the money to you, right? Based on the products and services you give. If the customers don't give the money to you, then it will impact your cash flow and your bank. I mean, cash and bank, everything, right? You will not be able to operate. You will not be having working capital, right? So then you need to understand who are your customers who will pay you, who will not pay you. You need to understand, you need to predict that if customers are not going to pay you on time, how to really get more payment, right? Or the payment at the right time from them. Otherwise, it will impact your operations. So there are hundreds of such use cases in accounts and finance. Today, analytics and AI is being heavily used. Is example clear?
Hello, Varughese sir. This is Dr. Priyami. It was nice listening to you, sir. Sir, I have one question. Am I audible to you, Varughese sir?
Yes, madam.
Hello,
Yes.
am I audible, Varughese
Yes.
sir?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible, ma'am.
Sir, my question is regarding the HR analytics. We all have discussed like big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and one of the person said that he is from an arts or commerce background. So how do we take it? Sir, from our MBA student perspective, like they have been learning a theory lot, but now the time has come for the practical applications also, which we need to even train them. Like for an example, we all know what is HR analytics, how to use the data. But when it comes for creating the dashboard and the matrices, then that practical application becomes very difficult. And you spoke in between regarding the languages like R, Python and all. And if you're not from the programming or other coding background, so can you suggest us some way or some certification where we can have an hands-on experience practically instead of the theory what we are learning?
Definitely. That's a very interesting question. So let me just take this section right now, addressing on the HR analytics aspects, right? So HR analytics, see, one of the fundamental things that for any analytics, whether it's HR, finance, supply chain, marketing, fraud, risk, competitive benchmarking, any type of analytics, the most important factor, the most important dimension is not about the tool, not about the algorithm, not about the supercomputer that we use. It's all about two things. One is the data, the other one is the domain knowledge. Rest all are enablers. So to do any analytics, the first and important thing is data, because data is the most important ingredient. The second one is the domain knowledge, what you want to do with the analytics there, right? So in the HR, we can call it as human capital. Earlier, the HR departments were support functions to the organization, but today it is treated as profit centers. That means HR department should produce revenue implicitly or indirectly. How? It has to be adding, HR department should impact the bottom line of the P&L. That's what the expectation. Now, HR analytics is what? Identification and quantification of people drivers of business outcomes in a systematic way. That is what is HR analytics. That means the entire organization workforce to be properly planned, analyzed, identified, and quantified. The people driver aspects, the performance aspects that will be directly related to the business outcome. Now, let me quickly come to an example. Now, where do you use analytics in HR? Now, if you want to use analytics, you can analyze the data on the wage analytics, your salary analytics. Compared to last 3 months, how the salary performance is it increasing or decreasing? Is it going beyond the target or below the target? Or is it actually happening? The salary performance is as planned and budgeted or not, or is it exceeding or not? Right? Is there any fraud? Or for example, sometimes salary can be paid twice or thrice. Some people cannot be. Some people salary may not be even credited. Employee experience. So that could be one area, right? So wage analytics. On the other side, attrition. Attrition means employees are resigning, right? So attrition analytics. How many people are resigning over the last 6 months? Why they are resigning, right? What are the key drivers? How do we really fix that, right? Because a company is nothing but people. If people are leaving, obviously your company is in trouble, right? So there are a number of areas where you can use analytics. Now, in the recruitment itself, right? As I mentioned yesterday, recruitment analytics. Imagine that you want to hire 1 lakh people. In 1 lakh people, in a year, if you're hiring, you need at least 20 lakh resumes. 20 lakh resumes, then you will shortlist 10 lakh resumes. From the 10 lakh resumes, you interview and then you select 1 lakh people. Now, if you need to really manage 20 lakh resumes in a year, then what you need to do is actually you need to manage 2 lakh resumes in a month at an average. 2 lakh resumes in a month means divided by 20, that means nearly 10,000 resumes you need to review in a day. 10,000 resumes. Imagine a large organization hiring 1 lakh people in a year. They have to manage approximately 10,000 resumes they have to review in a day. Manually, is it possible or not? It is extremely difficult. It is possible, but you need to spend huge amount of money to people to review all these 10,000 resumes in a single day. And you need to continue this every day, right? Throughout the year. Now, this is where an AI-based recruitment management solution or the recruitment candidate resume reviewing solution can be used to really select or shortlist the candidates by intelligently analyzing this resume. An AI solution that can help in hiring, right? So I'm just talking about one example, right? Hiring. So there are so many such areas where you will be able to use analytics. In the rewards and recognition, now once a candidate is already onboarded, then once a candidate is onboarded, every year you may need to give them performance appraisal, like salary increment and rewards and bonuses, etc. Some people may not be happy with their rewards, but how do you really understand? Today, people are having computer vision based solution, the camera based solution. Video analytics is being applied to understand during a salary discussion or a performance appraisal discussion. Companies are real time analyzing the behavioral aspects of or emotional intentional aspects of the employee to understand whether the employee is happy with the promotion or whether he is going to resign and go to the next job or not. So there are hundreds of such use cases. We can look at the HR analytics. I am not getting into details of this, but I hope these examples gave you a good set of use cases. Now, how do you really, but how do you really do the analytics? It's a very, very interesting. That's what I think your question was, right? To do any analytics, you need data, right? So data, different types of data, different volume of data, different timestamps of data you need, depending upon which use case you would use. Now, if you wanted to be an HR analytics expert, you can be either in the domain HR functional lead or HR data analyst or the analytics professional, right? If you wanted to be an HR data analyst, what you need to know is actually how do you really understand the domain. So the traditional computer science graduates, they don't have the HR domain knowledge. So they will not be able to understand the metrics, KPIs, how the HR functions, etc. That has to come from the domain experts, the MBA HR leads. Now, this MBA HR, for example, they have to be the data analyst. They have to explain their problem statement. For example, how do I increase my hiring time? Or sorry, how do I decrease my hiring time? How do I increase my customer experience or my employee experience? Two problems. Now, MBA department, HR department can take that problem statement and can tell that, okay, if I do these three things, I'll be able to increase my employee experience and decrease my hiring time. For that, this data is there, but can somebody help me to really manage this data? And that is where the actual coding and data analytics will come into picture. If an MBA HR candidate is capable of doing a bit of coding, then definitely he or she will be able to use the technologies like R or Python to apply the models and then apply these models to derive these answers, right? The findings. Now, there are multiple ways of analytics, as I mentioned: descriptive and diagnostics, predictive and prescriptive. If you need simple descriptive and diagnostics, like what is my current payroll status? Is it going up and down? That's simple descriptive and diagnostics, right? So that you need only tools like Tableau or ClickView or Power BI or even Excel. You don't need a heavy coding knowledge. But if you need to predict what will happen in the next 6 months, whether how many people I'm going to lose, how many people are going to resign because of 2-3 reasons, that is are to use predictive analytics. Some bit of statistical modeling into the coding with the kind of data, then you need to apply on top of that to get that kind of a prediction. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Very much clear, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So right now what we are seeing is the HR use case, right? And somebody was asking about accounts and finance. Now, in accounts and finance, as we mentioned, accounts and finance cash flow forecast analytics is very, very important. Anybody from accounts and finance department, working capital analytics, days payable outstanding, because without cash flow, your organization will not function, right? And this is where inventory turnover. Now, imagine that your orders are only 10, but you purchase 200 and there is no order. What will happen? Your cash will be spent on non-performing assets, and that will be in your warehouse. Your cash flow is stuck. So how do you really optimize that? That is where you can use analytics. Imagine sometimes in the payables, right? Payable means what? You need to pay money to your customers or to your vendors or partners, etc. Right? Sometimes what will happen? You need to pay over a particular contract. There will be a contract that you have 200 items to be delivered. With this 200 item, for every item X amount of money, and you need to pay every month, 30th of every month, and so on. Some contract will be there. Now imagine sometimes contracts may not be there, agreements may not be there. Then how do you make the payment? Right? Purchase orders, you need to make the payment without purchase orders, without contract sometimes. But how do you control that? Because sometimes fraud transactions can happen, mistakes can happen, right? Sometimes imagine that $10 million accidentally transferred to a company where there is no purchase order. You're losing $10 million, right? It's a huge amount, 70 crore rupees, right? Or 75 crore rupees. So that is where you can have analytic solutions in the background, which can help you to detect fraudulent transactions or mistake transactions. Without PO or with PO, how do you really control this fraudulent transaction is a very big use case in accounts and finance, where you can use analytics and AI, right? There are a number of areas: revenue leakage, cost prediction, expense prediction, sales and revenue prediction. So these are all areas in accounts and finance today. Analytics and AI is being heavily used. Any questions here in accounts and finance?
Sir, one small question, not exactly from accounts and finance, but you told that when you have a proper domain knowledge, you need a little bit of knowledge of coding. Then you can get into this data analytics part. So for a domain expert, can you suggest some websites or some applications where we can learn coding from a completely layman's point of view?
Yeah, definitely. So as I mentioned yesterday in my class, I was telling every business is a technology business today. every domain person has to have a technical expertise to survive and be relevant in today's world. Okay, and every management person should be having a technical expertise, and every technical expert should be having a little bit of management expertise as well. It is vice versa as well. It is not just one-sided. Okay, so if a technology person is there in this call, you need to learn the management aspects of that, right? You need to understand the business metrics. You need to understand the business challenges. You need to understand the business strategies. Then only you will be able to solve problems. On the other side, if you are a domain expert, functional expert, definitely you need to have a bit of technical understanding. Then only you will be able to relevant. So it all depends upon to what extent you need to be in this technical aspects, right? So if you wanted to be a data analyst, then basic technologies like Tableau, Power BI, or even Excel will help you. Okay, but if you want to be an advanced data analytics professional, that is where you need R, Python, coding, a bit of coding knowledge extra is important. But yeah, mostly if you know Tableau, Power BI, ClickView kind of Excel kind of tools, then definitely it would be a good opening. And depending upon your technical interest, then you can go deep into this. But where do you learn? There are hundreds of free open source materials are available in the YouTube and other sources. Actually, it's all available free of course in the internet. I don't recommend straight away you go and do a certification, because certification is just an enabler. There is a big myth or a wrong perception that if I do a certification I will get job. It is not that. It is not easy that. I mean, I don't say that you should not do certification, but what my recommendation is actually identify what is your real passion, what is your real area of interest. Based on that, you choose an area, whether you want to get into visualization or data analyst or functional analyst or advanced analytics professional or data scientist, whether you like coding or consulting. So being a domain expert, you can be a consultant, you can be an analyst. So you don't need so much of technical knowledge, but you need to have bare minimum knowledge. And that is where, as I mentioned, Tableau, ClickView, Power BI kind of tools can help you. Hundreds of free content is available in the YouTube, for example, or you search in the internet, so much of free materials are available. You can start understanding that, and then you can see whether you want to go deep into technical or you can be in the consulting aspect. As a consultant, what you do, you help the business to take better decision by analyzing this data more from a functional standpoint of view. You work with the technical department, technical team to enable that. That is a functional consultant or a data analyst. But if you are a core data scientist, then you will be part of the larger technical team where you will help the business team to solve this kind of problem using analytics and data. Clear?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think one question from Bhargav.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a doubt in analytics, that as process of extracting data, that as you said that the company process both internal and external sources. It's okay for collecting the data by internal sources, but coming to external sources, extracting the data, they need to buy and collect it from other platforms who already have some users data. But the process, of collecting this data and the sharing between the company comes under violation of laws. So I think, yes, sir.
Yeah, so definitely that is a very interesting question. So in general, we cannot simply take any data that we like. There are permissible data, there are restricted data. The restricted data will come with a lot of personally identifiable information that we cannot take just like that, any data out there. We may have to have the permission of the user or the platform. There are other open source data that is available, which you can crawl and collect. Okay. There are two things called web crawling and web scraping. Web crawling is allowed to a certain extent by permissible, by the permission set by the respective websites. But web scraping is completely illegal. You cannot scrape the web, because that is where you see that in every website and all, you will see terms and conditions, trademarks, etc. We cannot use just like that. But there are so many data providers out there, so many data providers. They will sell data to you. You can buy the data, which you can commercially buy and use it for the purpose. And again, there will be terms and conditions that how do you use the data, right? So, and sometimes government provide this data. For example, in India, accident data is available, climate data is available. So these data can be downloaded. Population data is available, but you may not get exactly the address and phone number of every person. But population data is available by district, by state, by region, and so on, right? Demographic data is available, climate data is available, distribution of the tax data is available. So there are so much of data available. It's all about how do we really use the data and for what purpose. My whole recommendation is actually the most important requirement is to define the purpose. Why do you need to do analytics, and what kind of analytics do is followed by. So what is the purpose of our analytics? What kind of problem we are going to solve? You need to define that very, very clearly. In fact, I am coming to that section in the coming minutes, that how do you really define that kind of particular problem statement? Because without clearly defining that problem statement, it is going to be extremely difficult for having a right outcome after the analytics. Any other questions?
Yeah, sir. But my doubt is that the government was not able to knowing how the companies actually came back to India with another name called Battleground India, something like that. The government is allowing. Yesterday it was the incident that happened that they stated that it was not a company belongs to China. But when they did an IP address tracing, it shows that some packets of data is going to the China servers. So
Yeah,
how can we handle with that?
Yeah. So that is where today governments are coming with a lot of regulations, frameworks. In European government brought a very, very strong regulation and law, saying that law is called GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. Now, with that law, no company anywhere in the world should not take any consumer data of the consumers from European Union and process outside, store outside, or use outside the European region without the proper consent of the user. For one only can be used for a legitimate purpose. There is a law came like that. In India, we have a law that is in the parliament right now. Okay, in India, that law is yet to come. The draft is in the parliament. But how do we?
Yeah, okay, sir. But yeah.
Yeah,
but as personally, I'm asking your opinion personally. Is that happening 100% genuine?
No, absolutely. I don't think that. I don't think that today, everybody is following all the rules and regulations, because we don't know. There has to be an auditing mechanism. There has to be a proper system in place. Will be auditing. We don't know, right? We don't have an central auditing system like a CAG for data audit. CAG is for what? All the financial transaction audit. But for the data transaction audit, we don't have a system like that. And not only we, but even in other countries also, it is slowly coming up, right? It is all slowly coming up. But the problem is actually, how do we really protect ourselves? We have a huge responsibility. We need to ensure that when we use these kind of digital system, we have to be careful to what extent we should provide data, to what extent we should give permissions to our digital system. Just to give one example, right? Because we are talking about AI, when we are installing any app in our mobile phone, we are giving permissions, right? Now, without even reading all the permissions, we are simply clicking on agree and accept. Now, most of the apps, we are giving permissions to take all of our data, including our gallery data, including our voice data, including our call records, including why a camera app has to read the SMS, but we are giving permission. Right? Why a game app has to have access to our call detail records or our logs? or our camera or anything for that matter, because it has access to all the data and it can send with our permission or without permission. Once we give our agreement, it can take automatically all our data and can send it to somebody, and wherever the server is, it can send. This is where we have a responsibility to ensure that we are safeguarding ourselves first. We are taking, so data can be used for good as well as bad. Our own data can be used against it, because I am in the cybersecurity area. I mean, I see hundreds of such examples, hundreds of exploits, hundreds of attacks, which you cannot even imagine. So it is a very dangerous situation. Your question is extremely important, sir. Very, very valid. But we don't have a system, holistic system, readily available and implemented. We are all going to be suffered because of that. But the most important thing is that how each one of us take extra care when we are dealing with these digital systems. What extent data we are permitting, to what extent we are permitting other apps and other systems to collect our data and take outside and do control ourselves from any of these kind of attacks and threats. Yep. Any other questions? Okay, assume that there is no question. So let me just go back and take one example from the banking industry. So analytics and AI in banking industry. So analytics and AI in banking industry is heavily used, and it is used. I think banking is one of the industries started using analytics in a very big way, long time back. So in banking industry, analytics is used for so many things, especially management. Imagine that your credit card is used by country to withdraw, not used by you, right? Or which is not used by you. Automatically, it will be blocked. Is the bank manually looking at all these transactions? No. There is an AI engine in the background which will be monitoring all the transactions, and it will predict every transaction before it is approving whether it is a fraud transaction or not, and then it will be blocking that particular transaction if it is a fraud transaction. Today, somebody was asking about different types of learning. Now, you may be receiving an SMS saying that your pre-approved loan for your 2,000 rupees, your pre-approved loan is already passed. You can click here to claim, or you can contact the branch to get your loan approved, loan reimbursed. How do they know that whether you are eligible for 3,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees? 20 years back, the bank manager knows you personally. That's where we can go and how that kind of things happened. But today it is extremely difficult because we have crores of customers. Manually, it is very difficult. And this is will be using clustering algorithm for customer segmentation, customer profiling, which you can use and understand the customer that for these many customers, this kind of loan and pre-approved amount is going to be very good, and mostly they'll be able to take this. Now imagine you are having two cars and you don't want a car. But if I'm a bank, somebody is calling and telling you that, sir, you have a car loan approved, do you want a car? Will you take that? You will not take that. But imagine you are about to build a new house and you need some money. Is somebody calling you and saying that, sir, we have a special home loan for you. Will you be interested? Yes, then you will be interested, right? So this is where companies have to now personalize, hyper personalize, and segment the customer based on their profile, based on their behavior, based on their background, based on needs. Manually, can you do this for 1 crore customers or 2 crore customers? Extremely difficult. And this is where analytics and AI is being used for lead generation, customer behavior analytics, customer segmentation, customer profiling, fraud and risk management, and so on. So in the banking industry, there are so many areas which will help them to increase their sale, reduce their risk, improve their operations, and so on. Now, ATM performance analytics, the point of sale, the cards which in a retail showroom, the point of sale analytics, credit risk analytics, fraud detection analytics, customer relationship analytics, anti-money laundering analytics, insurance claim leakage prevention analytics, and so on. Just to give you one example by insurance claim leakage prevention, Imagine that somebody is raising a false claim, a fraudulent claim saying that this guy met with an accident, guy ABC met with an accident, and some 25 lakh rupees insurance claim has been processed. Now, after 1 week, you can see this guy is in some tourist place or some vacation spot enjoying with his family. There was no accident. Now, insurance companies today use social media analytics to identify such kind of fraudulent claims. Today, insurance companies use GPS system data to identify whether the transaction is a fraud or not. And future, you will see that our toothbrush that we use will be smart toothbrush, which will collect real-time data from our mouth, because these toothbrush will be having sensors, and that sensor will collect data to predict insurance premium. Insurance companies, you will use all these kind of very, very innovative way to build new products using analytics. And I can tell you hundreds of such examples how these kind of companies will be using analytics AI, to improve their business, reduce their frauds, right? Reduce their risk and so on. Any questions here in the banking sector? Yeah, there is no question. Let me move further. We have seen the HR analytics.
Sir,
We have seen the
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Tell me, ma'am.
Yeah. Actually, this definitely whatever you have explained is very interesting. Definitely, it's going to create more jobs also in the future. Going to displace some people who are not eligible to monitor all these things. So, how should we manage this situation?
Monitor means in the sense what monitoring, ma'am? Sorry, I didn't understand that part. Sorry, I didn't get your question, ma'am. Monitoring means. Hello. Hello, ma'am. Actually, I couldn't follow your question. Could you repeat it, please? Hello. Hello. Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Sir, one more question.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes,
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Sir, every day we are seeing in the newspaper that. Hello.
Yeah, tell me, sir. You are audible.
Every day we are seeing in the newspaper that ATM, the money has been robbed by a lot of culprits. So through analytics, we can solve this problem.
Definitely, sir. And today, so many banks are already using fraud detection software using analytics only.
Okay.
The recording has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
And that is where you see still frauds are happening, because sometimes now the cyber criminals taken a different route. Now not stealing your credit card and drawing money from the ATM, but what they do is actually send an SMS to you saying that you have so much of money credited to your account. Click on this link to claim your money. When we click on the link, that malicious link, through the link they will take your SMS passwords and all the things, and they'll withdraw your money.
Okay. And furthermore, the non-performing assets in banks are mounting up.
Yes, sir.
Is there any solution to protect through business analytics non-performing assets?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, NPA is one of the key. So what you do is actually in the banks today, there are so much of data available. They predict the NPA customers using customer behavior analytics.
Oh.
Yeah. So what you can do is actually, for example, now when the NPS will start, when the customer is not having proper income, right? That is where the NPS will slowly, or in general, will start. Now, the entire transaction data can be analyzed by the bank and saying that for this customer, the income is slowly started reducing. Over the last 6 months, the income is reducing, his expenditure are increasing. So he is very likely to default. He is very likely not to pay the money, right? So they will, that is what we call as customer risk profiling.
Yes.
So a customer risk profiling dashboard will be built, a risk score will be identified, and if the risk score goes above a certain period, immediately the bank has to intervene and say that how do we recover money so that somehow they will be able to recover and the NPA can be reduced.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any others on the banking side?
So one more question from Puneet Kumar.
Yes.
What is the role of artificial intelligence in stock market analysis?
Stock market analytics today, there are so many people already using analytics to predict the stock market, various companies and products based on the historical data. And interestingly, today companies are not only, some people are not only using the direct financial impact, but also the company's broader brand value also. The more the brand is coming up, the brand value is increasing, the more the share value will be increasing. For example, pharma companies, some of the pharma companies' share value got shot up because of the pandemic situation. So today, people will predict these kind of situations also, and then whether it is a pandemic, whether it's a natural calamity, whether it is climatic condition problems, whether it is diseases, all those things they will consider, and then innovation, for example, some companies will be predicting other companies' growth based on the innovations that they bring into the table. So in the stock market also, analytics and AI is being heavily used. Yeah. So today I don't see that any area that is using analytics in a very less, I don't find any area. Most of the areas I can quote at least 20-30 examples or use cases in any domain, any industry, there is an analytics use case.
Sir, one more question. So what is the role of chartered accountants if the business analytics and artificial intelligence play a vital role in finance? The scope of chartered accountants, company secretaries, and cost accountants will go up, or
no? Their role will be very very important and more important. So in fact, one of my colleagues, the head of finance analytics, is a chartered accountant.
Okay.
And right now, one of my colleagues, he's a partner in a big consulting company like the Big Four. He's a chartered accountant. He is the partner at analytics.
Then the chartered accountants has to study the analytics, the business analytics and artificial intelligence. Otherwise, no scope at all, isn't it?
No, yeah, they need to upskill and reskill them.
Yes.
Yeah, they not like a core data scientist. If they know like a data scientist, their scope will be increased more only. But what they need is actually see that, for example, the traditional computer science graduate, they don't know the accounts and finance principles and standards.
Yes.
So who will bridge that gap? It is the chartered accountant or accounts professional, right? The accounts and finance professional should know how the analytics is working. Then only he will be able to work with the technology guys.
Oh, right. Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, it is a teamwork actually. So without the domain knowledge, analytics cannot be performed. Without the technical knowledge, again by the functional guys alone. So you need both the aspects.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
This forensic accounting is fast emerging in India also. What role this artificial intelligence is going to play in that area?
In the whole investigation, ma'am, actually. In the whole investigation, in the whole analysis, analytics can be used, especially correlation of data. Now, how do you correlate the data? That is where you need to define different scenarios. The different scenarios and different use cases have to be applied, and that is where the forensic accountants, they will collect the sampling or they will collect the evidences. That evidence data will be put it into analytical system for correlation, and for that, because with that correlation, you will be able to do a lot of root cause analysis, a lot of diagnosis analysis.
Okay.
Any question from other participants? Yes, sir. You can go ahead.
Yeah, great. So, but how do we really do all this analytics? That's a very, very important thing. This is a very, very interesting and important slide. First of all, to do any kind of analytics, whether it is a domain team or a functional team or a technical team, there are 3-4 things that you need to keep in mind. Very, very important. First of all, as I mentioned, the very important and the most important thing, the very first step is defining what you need to do, whether you need to do HR analytics, that the employee attrition as a problem, or forensic accounting, or fraud detection. What exactly your scope? That is the most important thing to be looked at. So any company, anywhere, based on my experience, I can tell you, if people are not able to define what they need to do with their analytics, that particular project can be a failure. It is not about the tool, it is not about the technology, it is not about anything else. It's most important what exactly the analytics you need to do on what is the problem. The problem statement definition is extremely important. Once you define that problem, HR attrition, for example, then what you need to know: employee rewards and recognition programs, welfare programs, employee policies, number of people are in their notice period, their inputs, historical people, past people, what kind of feedback they already given before they left. All the data points you need to bring into the system. Now that is what scoping and data diagnostics. Once you scope it, once you do the initial data dimensions collection, then you need to set up a technical environment for doing all these analytics. You need servers, storages, softwares, licenses, tool, people, and so on. Once that is there, then what you need to do is actually, once the data is collected, the data has to be collected, processed, structured into a format that can be analyzed. That's called data exploration modeling. Once that is done, then you need to develop the use cases. The use cases is nothing but different scenarios, different modeling, different reports, different insights, different KPIs, different hypotheses, different statistical models. All the things have to be developed on top of this data directly in connection with the first scoping. This two, the first one and the fourth one. Then obviously you'll be able to do a lot of analytics on top of that, and then the results can be delivered to you as a report or a dashboard or a scorecard. So this is the life cycle. Okay, very, very important. Now in this process, you may use different type of data depending upon what kind of analytics you need to do, like text data, voice data, digital data, geolocation data, geospatial data, weather data, sensor data. It all depending upon what use cases you are going to apply. So in this whole thing, actually you may need to collect data from diverse data sources. So typically this is how a typical data warehouse architecture looking like. You may have to consume your data from internal sources, external sources, social media, customer relationship management, enterprise resource profiling tool, your e-commerce portal, your supply chain management system. You may have to collect the data through different systems, and the data has to be extracted, transformed, and loaded into a central data warehouse. And from there, you need to do a lot of structuring, classification, clustering, modeling, all the things you need to do here. And then on top of that, you need to do a lot of analytics, the modeling you need to apply. And then that modeling will be performed on these kind of data, and then the outcomes will be delivered to the end users, either in the form of a dashboard or a scorecard or a report. Right? That is how the architecture looking like. In simple way, relational structured data is there. Unstructured data like web media, social media, like YouTube, so much of device data and so on, it will come. A lot of structured data will come. This data will be coming to a central place. Either it will be stored for future processing or current analytics. Then you can use BI tools like Tableau, ClickView, Power BI kind of tools to do the visualization. Advanced analytics can be used by SAS, R kind of programs, and any other languages also you can use R, Python, Java for any other kind of analytics as well. So when it is coming to large volume of data, the traditional tools will be replaced by big data tools like Spark, Storm, Kafka, Hadoop, and so on. But this process will remain the same. Okay. The only thing is that in the big data area, it will be extract, transform, and load. Instead of that, it will be extract, load, and transform, ELT and ETL. That's the only difference. The whole data has to be searched, crawled, filtered, collected, extracted, deduplicated, then stored into a database. There it will be indexed, structured again, processed, analyzed, visualized, and exported to the respective users. This is how the data flow process is happening. Any questions so far here in the whole data approach? Okay, if not there, so when we look at the data, we need to look at a number of parameters about the data, because as I mentioned, data is the most important parameter. We need to look at data quality, data privacy, data security, data relevance, data consistency. For example, in one place, you cannot have 1st January 2021. In second, in another column, you cannot have January 1st, 2021. In another column, you cannot have 1/1/1/21. You cannot have different formatting. Data has to be coming into the system in a completely consistent way, right? So you need to have data standardization, data completeness, for example. So if you are getting an address of a person, Philip Varughese, Bangalore, India, is that address complete? No. Or sometimes you will say that Philip Varughese, Dubai, US. So what is the relevance? This data is not complete, data is not accurate, data is not relevant, data is not consistent. So we need to ensure that the data is consistent, complete, accurate, available, and so on, right? So those are some of the key things that you need to keep in mind when the data has to be brought into the analytics algorithms. So these are some of the tools and technologies. In my experience, at least I came across more than 200 tools in technology in analytics alone. More than 200 tools. So can we learn all these tools? Technically, yes, but practically it will take years and years, right? So my recommendation is actually you can learn tools or technologies based on your interest and aspiration. Anybody and everybody who is upskilling, they have opportunities in the market. Whether you learn a technology, whether you learn the functional aspects, whether you can either be a data analyst or a consultant, or you can be a technologist. You can be even a visualization specialist. If you're good in designing, you can even be a visualization expert, like the charting, the dashboarding. You can create beautiful dashboarding using these tools. You can learn any of the tools. You can become a visualization expert. Or if you learn visualization, you can be even a consultant with your domain experience. So these are all examples of dashboards, how it will look like, right? So in larger organization. Any questions so far here in the data approach and the visualization aspects?
Sir, one general example.
For the dashboard?
Yeah, it's like how it is processed and what the outcome, which we all can relate. If you can share one example.
Definitely, sir, definitely. So imagine that you are working for a large retail company or a telecom company, for example. We are all working for Airtel, for example, or Vodafone. Now imagine that you are the marketing head of a company. Now, if you wanted to know how your sales are increasing, how is your sales looking at? Now, you know that you have SMS business, data business, calling business, internet business. Now, these are all run in different regions, different software, different infrastructure. But being a marketer, you don't need to worry about so many different softwares, different data. You need to have a single consolidated dashboard, right? So how do? You need to collect the data from SMS system, data and 4G and data systems, your broadband connection systems, your telecall, the other calling, the spectrum data, the call detail data. All this data is required. Now what you can do is actually collect all this data from the different softwares, merge it into one single large data warehouse, and there you can apply a lot of you need to define a lot of KPIs. What kind of data, what kind of reports you need? KPI means key performance indicators, the reports. How is my sales in South? What is my revenue in North? Is my data business increasing or decreasing? Which one is more profitable to me, like my data business or calling business, business? So you need to define all these metrics. Now, once the metrics are defined, then you need to apply that model in the database or in the data warehouse. Then what you will get is actually you will get dashboards like this. Now, one second, let me just go back and take one example of a dashboard. You can see dashboards like this, where your income is more, where your expense is more, which one is more profitable, which product is more profitable, and so on. You will be able to get a lot of insights about various your services. So then, this will be delivered to you in a dashboard where you can either log in through your mobile or websites. You will be able to see this one. So a lot of data collection is required, a lot of data processing is required, a lot of analytics has to be applied on top of the data based on the KPIs that you define, and then you will be able to get this. Is it clear?
Yeah. Okay, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions on this?
Sir, this is Srinivas. I have a small concern.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So here, most of our participants are the faculty members.
Yep.
And particularly in our academia, still in some of the conventional university or state university, we are not started the courses like data science, machine learning, or artificial intelligence. Our students are very good in core competence, means domain competence is good. So how will you help how we can guide our faculty members to proceed with this kind of courses like data visualization? Because whatever the platforms which are shown to me, so most of our students have gone through in the annual reports of the companies with respect to sales, income, and all these things. Like, how do we begin our students with respect to this? Can we start with the masters at UG level? Like, what kind of courses slowly, or can we integrate with the So what's your opinion on this to our faculty members?
Yeah, very interesting question. So starting this as a core program in their college itself. So they are starting a specialized program. So if you are having an MBA program, then these colleges are starting MBA specialization with analytics, MBA specialization with advanced analytics or artificial intelligence, or MBA specialization with banking analytics. So there are programs starting by the college. It's not only MBA, BCom, MCom, MBA, BTech. So recently in one of the universities, they started BTech with specializations in advanced analytics and artificial intelligence. So one way is to start the courses. The other way is actually you can have dedicated BTech in or MBA in analytics. You can have dedicated programs for like that. Now, if you don't have provisions for starting programs like that, then what you can do is actually you can have external subject matter experts or speakers. You can invite them for a week or so. You can have continuously not only one person, you can have multiple persons coming and talking about this one, and then giving them classes. Now, what I have just shown is very, very high level, 70,000 feet high. I was going very fast because this is so huge, right? Actually, this whole thing has to be taken at least in a month's time. Because this has to be explained more and more, then only it will be understood, because it's so huge.
Sir, what's my concern is, for example, most we have a program called Commerce, BCom or MCom. So our students are good in the number, accounting number. They are good in preparation of financial statements in a conventional way. So how do they take this technology? Because today accounting statements can be prepared with this kind of technology. So can we integrate this course and that technology? Can we deliver it?
Definitely, you can involve. Definitely, you can do that. Mine, this one, I didn't put this as a course. Actually, I do a lot of faculty development programs and other this one. That's why I prepared this content for general awareness, right? So now, actually, this has to be taken to the students in a slightly deeper way.
Yeah,
because
that's
for example, a bit of technology, they need to understand how Tableau or Python or some technology learn, and some analytical modeling they need to learn, some the concepts they need to learn about analytics. So it's about the clinical and theoretical aspects. Then only it will be beneficial to them.
Theoretical aspects, they can equip themselves, sir. But for the practical thing, we need to train them. The faculty has to be trained.
Yeah, that's true.
So the faculty can be trained using, for example, you can have FDP, I mean, faculty development programs, where I can organize probably a couple of people to help you with a lab session. So they can give you a lab hands-on training program with some sample data where you will be able to install, for example, R or Python, and then you will be able to apply some real case. So that is the only way, that is the easiest way to really develop skill on this.
Sir, Philip sir, as madam was mentioning it, actually we really members to with few of the company, like if you're working, since you're working for Accenture, if you could, if your resources can train our faculty members, so for few days, so that we can offer those courses at a very in a core level, like teaching through conceptual way, then hands-on approach to them, so that we can make our students industry ready with this kind of data science jobs and data scientists. That's what my concern. Could you help us?
Yeah, definitely we can do that. The only thing is that I will not be able to do it officially and formally. I can do it informally through, just like the way I am taking this session. I can connect 2 or 3, I don't know, based on the number of sessions you want, we can organize and do that.
Sure, sir, definitely. Thank you. It was and very informative.
I hope even today's session was useful.
Yeah,
and
it was
helpful.
both the sessions were excellent, sir. Both the sessions were excellent, and we got positive feedback from all the participants.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Will agree with me.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It was a nice session.
Any questions? Satyana, questions ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಕ್ಕಿಲ್ರಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ.
So they're asking your mail ID, sir. Participants are asking.
We'll share it.
Yeah, let me just. I think my mail ID is with the sir, but anyway, I'm putting it in the chat window here for all of you.
Sure.
We need your permission to share.
Yeah, sure, sir. Always.
Already syllabus also. You have the syllabus.
Yeah, I can help you with the syllabus. Not a problem.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Is there any questions?
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate and wish you all the very best, and more than happy to support anything in the future as well.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll come to an end of this session. We had an excellent session.